Hello, class of 2020. Welcome to Williams High School and welcome to biology. My name is Mr. Mahmood. I'll be your biology teacher. I'm very excited to start this new year and get to know each and every one of you. Now, my class is a little bit different than I think most of the classes you're probably used to. So what better way to explain this process than to do it in a unique way like this? So you guys aren't going to get a paper syllabus that walks you through all the rules and regulations. We're doing this in the flipped model, and I'll explain what that means here in a little bit. So I'm going to walk you through a bunch of the different puzzle pieces that are all kind of different, that all work together to help establish a certain environment in this classroom. And it's really important that you get an understanding of how all these different pieces fit together, right? I'm going to move pretty quickly through this, but the beauty of a flipped lecture like this is that you can pause and rewind it at any point that you'd like to on your own when you're watching this later at home. So if there's something that I went too quickly on or something that I rushed, feel free to pause, go back and hear it again at your own pace, right? So we're going to go pretty fast here. So to start, here's a basic breakdown of the units for the fall. I could sit here and explain each one of you, but here it is, and you can pause and watch it if you'd like, right? Now we're going to walk through the basics in terms of what I need to make sure you bring every day, the basic supplies that I need. Pretty straightforward stuff, right? Bring a pen and bring a pencil. The pencil is a big deal for me. It's not just about scantrons and taking tests. In fact, we're going to try to use a system that it really doesn't matter if you use a pencil on the test or not. The whole idea of a pencil has to do with being able to recover and being able to fix mistakes, and I'm going to tell you why that's so important later. So bring something to write with every day and make sure that that's not an issue. The notebook is important. It is important that every single one of you has a notebook or at least a section of a big notebook committed to this biology class. We're going to be doing a lot of activities and a lot of things where I'm asking you to write into the notebook. So it's important that you have a place to keep it all organized and not doing it on loose leaf paper that you probably could lose or kind of have trouble organizing, right? So if you have issues with a notebook, talk to me. I do have a bunch of extra notebooks that I'd be happy to pass one off to you. But you're basically going to need about one 70-page notebook per semester. That should pretty much cover what you need, right? Beyond the basics that I need you to bring every day, I am asking each class period to consider bringing a shared supply that maybe we can use to stock up the classroom. So if each class period can bring enough of these things, then all of my classes can share these things collectively over the course of the year, and we'll never have to worry about running out of these resources, right? So if you have the opportunity, please try to bring one of these things by the end of the week. And if you do so, I'll give you what's called a task pass, and I'll explain what that is a little bit later. If you don't worry about it. You're not required to. It's no problem if you can't or if you forget. But if you do, there is a benefit there, and I'll explain that benefit a little bit later. All right, so let's get into the real meat behind this lecture and the whole point of what I want you to learn from this. I have some very basic core values in terms of what I expect from myself, what I'm hoping from you, and what I'm going to be working very hard to establish in this classroom. It all starts with your seating chart here today. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that you guys are seated alphabetically. And I did that for a very important reason. I want to make it very clear to you guys that I know absolutely nothing about you except for your names. I have purposely avoided learning any extra detail about you. I don't know anything about your previous test scores. I don't know anything about all of the data that we have available of your previous academic experience. Because for us, and for you especially, I want it clear that we are starting fresh. Whatever I think about you, all of the relationship that I am able to build with you, and all of the experiences that I have with you are going to be based entirely on our one-on-one interactions over the next 2 weeks. I am purposely going to avoid from looking up any sort of data about you for the first 2 weeks of school. That gives you and I the opportunity to really get to know each other without any preconceived ideas. So if you maybe have these expectations of yourself because of your previous academic experiences, I want you to forget them. If maybe you weren't the most successful, you say, oh, I'm bad at science because I never really was able to succeed in it, or I just don't like school. All of those things I want you to eliminate from your thought process. Or on the other side, if you've always been really successful and you walk into the classroom thinking you have a lot of pressure, a lot of weight on your shoulders to try to maintain that expectation, I want you to forget about that too, because you and I are going to build our relationship together based entirely on our one-on-one interactions, right? Beyond our day-to-day, another big component that I want you to appreciate is what I value. Above all else, I value effort. And you're going to learn that over and over again, not only just this week, but over the entire school year. You'll really hopefully learn to appreciate how all of these components help you put a whole bunch of effort in this class and keep that level of effort high no matter what. I have this chart on my wall. Let's see if I do this right. Over there, right? I have this chart on my wall that is something that I put together and something that I talk about with teachers, administrators, all different kinds of educators all across the country. And this chart is all about my value of effort. This chart represents kind of your basic progression of effort. So you can go anywhere from about an effort level of 1 to an effort level of 5. Effort of 1 means this is too easy. It's like you're doing elementary school work. You barely have to pay attention. You barely have to be conscious. You already know this stuff. You're just kind of quickly putting down whatever you know the teacher wants, and you can just close your eyes and take a nap for the rest of the class period, right? Or all the way up to a 5, where this is just way too hard. There's no way that you could ever expect me to reach this level. There's no way I could ever, I don't even know where to start to get myself to the potential of actually achieving this particular goal, right? And then, of course, there's any range in between. Now, I want to make it clear, my job as your teacher for this entire school year is to never let you be at 1 or 5. If you are ever at 1 or 5, I'm not doing my job. Okay? My goal is to constantly keep you just a little bit uncomfortable. I want you guys to get used to this concept that you are going to be pushed and you're going to be slightly uncomfortable all the time in this classroom. It's inevitable. So I promise you, you're going to get over the initial shock of it, right? That's my goal. And I have a mantra that says, we live in 3. It's kind of my motto. It's how I end every one of my emails, and that's how I feel we should all be in the classroom. I'm always going to be kind of pushing myself to. I constantly try new things with you guys, and we kind of feel it out together to see what's the best way to make it work. We all should feel like we're challenging ourselves, and we're all reaching as far as we can to kind of keep pushing ourselves and keep moving ourselves forward, right? But I never want to make you feel like I'm putting so much on you or putting so much of a task on you that you can't do it. So my job is to always ask you where you are. I'm going to ask you that all the time. You're probably going to get pretty annoyed at me asking, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Don't tell me you're at Williams High School. Don't tell me you're in my classroom. Give me a number. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. If we're doing something and you tell me you're at a 2, I'm going to be okay with that, but I might ask you to work a little bit harder, push you a little bit more, test you a little bit more, right? But if you ever tell me you're at a 1 or a 5, no matter what I'm doing, I'm going to stop. I'm going to come right back at you, and we're going to figure out why you're there. If you're at a 1, we're going to figure out how I can challenge you more and make sure that you're really pushing yourself to reach the levels that you know you can. If you're ever at a 5, we're going to stop and figure out where I lost you, where you felt like you weren't able to make the next step, and we're going to work together to help develop a new pathway to help get you where you need to be, right? I'll constantly ask you where you are, right? So that's this mentality of this effort chart. So my promise to you is to never let you be at 1 or 5, but what I need from you, remember this is a partnership. In order for this to work, you have to promise me that you're never going to jump from 1 to 5. It's really easy to do that, right? It's really easy to say, oh, something is just simple, I can do it right away, or I'm introduced with a little bit of an obstacle, I can't do it, so I'm just going to stop. This is too hard for me. There's nothing in between. Promise me that that's not going to happen, right? If you came to the freshman camp before school started, I talked a little bit about this, right? But there are easy solutions to confrontation. If you're introduced to the struggle, if you're introduced to something challenging, it's easy to make these excuses, right? And say, oh, these are just too hard, I'm just not going to do it. But what I want from you is to constantly push yourself and figure out how you can slowly work towards that particular goal, even if you weren't successful the first time around. So much of my class and so much of my mentality is learning to recover from failure, learning how to fail forward, which is a video I'm going to ask your parents to watch here over the course of the week. It's so critical for life to be able to take an obstacle an initial little stumble and figure out how to utilize that to help you recover. And that's really where the effort chart comes into play. So never just jump from 1 to 5. Let's work together to always keep ourselves in that 2, 3, or 4 range throughout the entire school year. I guarantee you, you're going to appreciate it. Other posters that kind of represent my thought process outside of my classroom, when you guys walk in, you'll see this poster, which is a perfect representation of how I feel and how I define success. It's not something that's handed to you, and there's so many things that you have to do in order to maintain and reach that level of success. Also, a little further down the hallway when you're walking in every day, you'll see this poster again. It's why it's so critical to constantly challenge yourself, get yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, and you'll be amazed what you can accomplish when you do that. So we're going to work together on this, and I'm going to sound like a broken record about it, but I'm constantly going to want you to feel like you can challenge yourself in the classroom, and I'm going to make sure that I'm giving you the opportunities and the support system to make you feel like you can take these risks all the time, and you'll always be able to recover. You'll always be able to bounce back if you did happen to fall or stumble a little bit, right? All right, so let's walk through the basic mentality of a flipped classroom. The normal or traditional classroom environment, especially in a subject like science, is that the teacher would spend a pretty significant amount of the class period just talking to you, right? Kind of like this, where you just sit there, you're not doing anything, you're just listening to the teacher who just knows everything, and they're just so proud of themselves, so impressed with themselves about how much they know, and your job is to just listen to them and write as much as you can down and then just memorize it, right? And then when they're done, they might give you a little activity to do. You probably only get about 5 or 10 minutes to try to work on it. Whatever you don't finish it in class, you do at home. Right? That's your homework. And then you come back the next day and you move on. Same cycle. Now the flip model does exactly that. It flips that traditional classroom. So instead of me using class time to talk to you, your job is to watch these videos at home. So I make video lectures that are your homework assignment. So your job is to go home and get the base content on your own. The beauty of this system is that you can do it from the comfort of your own home at your own pace. You can pause things, you can rewind, you can go at your own pace and take your own time really appreciating just the basic content information, right? That way, the next day when you come to class, I don't have to waste time talking in class. I rarely talk for more than about 5 minutes on any given day. The rest of the day is all about you guys collaborating together and applying the information you should already know. So this system absolutely depends on you taking care of your part at home. Again, it's a relationship, it's a trust system that we have. I can promise you that I'll always have these videos available for you. They'll always be ready, on time, loaded, ready to go. What I need from you is to promise to put the energy in to take care of the lectures on your own, so you really have the opportunity to do that sort of application. These videos are non-negotiable. Okay, if you choose not to watch them at the comfort of your own home, then you're going to be watching them with me before, after school, during block lunch, during class, if that's what we have to do. I'm going to force you to watch the lectures. And I don't want it to sound like a punishment by any means. I think some of you guys may sort of fear this idea of having to work so hard at home. I am going to be putting some energy and some effort on you to require you to take care of some things at home that maybe you're not used to doing. But I promise you that you will see 20, 30 reasons why this is absolutely helpful to you. The huge benefits of not only being able to watch things at your own pace at home, but not having to worry about doing homework on an island by yourself at home where no one's there to help you. Instead, you'll be here, surrounded by your classmates and your peers collaborating together, and I'll be here to be able to jump in and help you along the way. You'll love, hopefully, and appreciate how you're not just going to be sitting in a class and just bored to tears listening to a teacher talk, which again, the irony is I'm doing this to you guys right now on the first day, but after today, that's not going to be the case. You're always going to be working, you're always going to be active. If you're used to just walking into class and just sitting in the back, not doing anything and just going on to the next class period, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that's not going to happen in this class. You're always going to be expected to work. The second you guys walk into class, you're going to be active, and it's just going to become the expectation. Now you're going to access all these videos through my Google site. So let's walk you through exactly how to get to this Google site. All right, so here's my browser loaded up. I use Chrome. I think they encourage you to use Chrome if you're using a Google site, but you guys can use whatever you like. The Google site itself is tinyurl.com/Mahmoud, which is my name, Mahmoud, and then you can choose either HBio if you're in my pre-AP classes, or just bio if you're in my on-level classes. Now, I'm just going to go with the pre-AP classes here, so I'm just going to write Mahmood H Bio. So tinyurl.com/Mahmood H Bio. Click enter here. Now, if you're not already logged in on your Google account, you're going to need to log in. Now, my login is my first name dot last name at pisd.edu, which is the way you can contact me by email. For you guys, your login is going to be your at mypisd.net email account. Right? And I think you guys have this already established from middle school, but if you're coming in from maybe another district, it might be a little bit unique to you. But you're going to write in your username there as your first dot last dot usually dot one at mypisd.net, and then you type in your password. So this is my information. I'm just kind of showing you here. So I'm going to put in my password. All right, and then once you've got yourself logged in, you have access to the site. I have already shared the link with you, so you have access to my site. You don't have to type in a class code. This isn't a Google Classroom. It's a Google site. So I am the one who determines who can view it, and I've already shared it with you guys. So unless you're coming in new to the class, I'll share it immediately, and you'll have access to it. So just make sure you're logged in. Once you log in at home on your home computer, you should be able to just pop up this website right away. So this is what the page looks like. In this case, it's a pre-AP biology class. It has a bunch of tabs there at the top and just some basic information for you, right? Accessing the online textbook is right here. Check it out. Learn how to do that. Set that up as quickly as you can. I do have a Remind account, a way to send out some basic information, updates, important things here and there along the way. Now, the tabs are here at the top for you to access all the different lectures that you need. So let's just, for the sake of discussion, go to this first 6 weeks tab, so the ones that you guys are going to be working on for the first week or so here. There are 3 basic lectures that you guys are watching. The first one is what you're watching here in terms of the flipped syllabus. The second one is going to be a lecture I ask you to watch tonight and take care of by tomorrow. And then there's a third video that I'm actually asking your parents to watch. I'm giving them a homework assignment, and you guys can get on them if they're late on their homework, right? But for every lecture, you'll see there has to be a way that I'm holding you accountable for the lecture. So once you're done watching a lecture, I'm going to ask you to take the lecture quiz. So every one of these links takes you to the video itself, which are all posted on YouTube. So here's the example at the beginning of the mindset lecture. All right, we can scroll through here a little bit. You see me talking.
You don't really care much about effort, because if you're not already good at it, you're not going to get any better.
Yeah, you see me talking about effort already, right? So clearly this is something that's going to be reiterated, right? So, okay, so you watch the lecture this way, you can make it full screen, all that good stuff. Then you go back to the page, and when you're done watching the lecture, you take the lecture quiz, right? And the lecture quiz is always the same format. It's a basic, usually 5-question quiz. You're going to type in your first name, type in your last name, choose your class period, and then for every question, you're just going to make your decision out of the choices. So there's a drop box. You choose the best answer based on what you think, and then go on to the next question, and then you simply click submit when you're done. Once you do that, it goes straight to me, and I get a proof that you've taken the quiz. Now, it's a 5-question quiz, right? So it's 20 points a question. You can get up to 100 on the quiz. We'll talk about kind of the grading scale for it, but that's the basic kind of process that I'm going to ask you to follow on any given time you're watching a lecture. Watch the lecture, take the quiz. It gives you the due dates for the lecture quizzes here, so you can see kind of when they're due and to take care of them. Now, in this case, you have lectures due kind of sequentially almost every night. Once we get to the real deal and you're really talking about content where there's a lot of information, things are going to be much more spread out. My goal is to always give you about 3 nights to watch any given lecture. So you're able to kind of work in your own schedule. You know which nights you're busier than others. If you have tests coming up in another class, you can schedule around it and just prioritize your time. Or you can choose to split up my lectures and watch maybe 10 or 15 minutes a day, and that'll knock it out at the same time. So however you want to organize your time, that's one of the huge benefits of this classroom, and one of the things you're going to need to learn very quickly is time management and how to take priority and take responsibility for that, right? So you watch the lectures, you take the quiz, and that's the basic breakdown how you're able to access the things through the Google site. All right, so continuing on, let's talk a little bit about grading. So district grading policy is that major grades are responsible for 75% of your grade, and then daily grades are responsible for 25. Now, major grades include tests, quizzes, projects, labs. Now, the lecture quizzes that I'm having you do, you're going to take a lecture quiz for every single quiz, those actually count as daily grades, right? So those will be the daily grades along the way, and then the major grades come in after that. Within the unit, I want to talk to you guys a little bit how the grading policy is going to work. Now, everything about this system is based on mastery. So because I care more that you master material than that you just listen and follow due dates, my units are pretty flexible. And instead of a calendar saying that everybody's doing the same thing on a certain day, I pass out something called a tasks list. And this is why you would get a task list or a task pass if you turn in one of those supplies. This can get you out of one of these particular activities. So a task list gives you a basic breakdown of the unit, and it gives you an idea of the pace that I'm expecting. The pace is basically when I would say the average person completes an assignment, right? Now, if you're on pace, then that means you're pretty much consistent with what I'm hoping you're doing, and then by the time the end of the unit comes around, you're ready for the test on that day. If you're ahead of pace, that's ideal. That's fantastic. That means you're able to take care of something, you show me you understand it, and you can move on to the next thing right away. And I absolutely encourage that for anybody who really likes to get themselves moving and take advantage of opportunities and go as fast as they can. Now, if you're behind pace, that's where we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. So if you realize that you're kind of falling behind a little bit, it's perfectly okay. I give you that freedom, but understand that you're going to be in that category of kids that I spend a little more time on over the course of any class period. So the beauty of this system, again, one of the components is that out of the class of 30, maybe 10 of you guys are at pace, 10 of you are kind of ahead of pace, and then the 10 that are a little behind are the ones that I'm going to really be able to commit my time with and really be available to help, which I think you guys will appreciate as well. So the system is made to kind of help you if you're struggling a little bit. So this whole unit is fluid in terms of due dates, but one exception to that rule is lecture videos. You'll notice that there are hard due dates on every one of these lecture videos. Now, it's important because if you don't watch a lecture video by that due date, then that means that the activity that's scheduled for class that day that most people will be doing, you won't be able to do. If you don't have the background knowledge that you needed to get from that lecture, you won't be able to apply that knowledge in the classroom. So it's absolutely critical that you take care of these lectures by their due dates. And again, I'm usually going to try to give you a minimum of 3 nights to watch any given lecture to give you plenty of time to organize yourself and make sure that gets done. So if you do not complete a lecture quiz by the due date, then there is going to be a deduction. The best you can make on any lecture quiz after the due date is an 80. Okay, so even if you got all 5 of your questions right, the best score I can put into the grade book if it's late is an 80. Now, if you turn it in early, of course you can make 100, but you can take it as many times as you want. So you can take a lecture quiz early, see what the grade is, and then if you missed it, if you say you made an 80 or a 60 on a lecture quiz before it's due, then you get a chance to go home and try it again. Now, I won't tell you exactly what you missed, and I'm only going to take 1 lecture quiz grade per day, but taking it early has its advantage. You can see if you missed something. You probably already know there were 1 or 2 questions maybe you weren't sure about. You can go back and try it again. So you can make 100 by the due date, and you can take it as many times as you want. But after the due date, if you submit a lecture, the best score you can make is an 80. And again, that's to keep you from falling behind too far on your lectures and then not being able to apply them in the classroom. And anytime you're ready to move on and show mastery for a concept, it takes a one-on-one discussion with me, maybe small groups like 2 or 3 or 4 at the most. I'll get you guys together. You've completed a task. Let's say you finished a particular activity and you come and say, I want to get mastery for this activity. You're going to sit down and I'm going to ask you some questions. Having a worksheet done means absolutely nothing to me. Yes, you need to have it done before you can have the discussion, sort of a prerequisite, but just copying someone's answers does nothing. Because I'm going to sit there and look you face to face and look you in the eye, and I'm going to ask you to explain some concept. Explain number 3. Explain how you got that. What's the purpose of this activity? What did you learn from this? I'm going to ask you really deep questions, and if you can't answer them for me, I'm going to say thank you for trying. I want you to go back and try again. When you're ready, come back and show me mastery. If you can explain it to me, then I'll sign off on the mastery. I'll write a check mark or a particular grade that I think you might have earned for that discussion. And then TI stands for teacher initials. I'll write my teacher initials, and that's the signal for you to be able to go on to the next activity. Now you can see that the lectures are set up to where if you want to get ahead, you're welcome to watch lectures sooner. And by doing that, you have the opportunity to really get the content you need to apply to these new activities way before anyone else actually gets started on them. So you have the opportunity to fire through a unit pretty quickly. Now we all take the test on the same day, but if you can get yourself ahead, we have all kinds of opportunities from that point. If you're ahead of task, if you can get yourself ahead of pace, I give you freedoms. So if you can show me that you can handle the responsibility of completing the task that I need of you, you get certain liberties. Maybe you like to listen to your music on your headphones while you're working. Maybe you like to eat a snack while you're working. Maybe you want to go out into our collaboration space, which is really nice. A bunch of really comfortable seating just outside of my room. You're more than welcome to go out there, only if you're ahead of pace. If you're on pace or behind, I'm going to keep you in the classroom because I really want to make sure that you have the people around you, including myself, to help you along the way. Right? On the back of the task list are the actual student learning guides, and this learning guide breaks down the targets that you're going to be expected to know on any given test. So you can see that the lessons there on the right match up to the tasks that are on your task list. So you can get a clear idea kind of what it is you're supposed to learn with any given activity that you're doing, right? No surprises here. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. These are the key concepts that you always want to know. You get it at the very beginning of the unit, and you can see this connection yourself with all the different tasks that we're doing along the way. Right? Now within the task list you can see that some are kind of gray and some are white. The ones that are in gray are what I call common tasks. That means that no matter where we are in a unit, even if you're behind or ahead, everybody's going to do that task on that day. Maybe it's a lab that involves some safety, and I can't really depend on small groups doing the labs at different points, so we all have to make sure we're doing it together. Maybe it's something that requires some sort of group discussion or some particular classroom supplies that I need to make sure I bring in. Those are things that we call common tasks. Other than that, you have freedom to roll through this task list as you see fit, right? All right. Now, by the time you take the test, everyone has to take the test on the same day, and we'll all work together to eventually have reached mastery by the time that test comes around, right? So you take the test, and maybe you didn't do as well as you would have hoped, right? Again, I value effort, and I'm all about giving you the opportunities to recover. So when you take a test, do the best you can, obviously, but if you realize afterwards that you didn't do very well, it's important that you don't just say, oh, I made a 60. So I'm just a failure. It's important to say, okay, let's really think about this test. So this gives you an example of a test analysis that we do with every single test we take. So out of this test, you see there are 33 questions in it. It covered 4 targets. So of the 4 targets, you see how many questions covered each particular target. So when you do this analysis and figure out how many questions you actually got right and wrong for each target, hopefully it's very eye-opening for you. So it's not just that you made a 60, but you realize, you know what, I was really good at targets 1 and 2, but targets 3 and 4 were the ones that I seemed to struggle at a little bit. And that really is a much better conversation to have than just to say, oh, I'm only 60% proficient on this particular unit. Recognizing where your weaknesses actually are is the first step to being able to really build and improve on those weaknesses, right? So you do this analysis first, and then I'm going to give you guys an opportunity, usually about a week, to come in and see me after you've done the analysis, where you know where your weaknesses are. You go home and you review your lecture notes, you review your activities, you review whatever it is you want to review. You can come in and talk to me, and we can review together if you want. And then, when you're ready, we'll have a one-on-one discussion together. Again, showing me mastery. So in this case, you're going to show me that you have a better understanding of that particular target than you might have had before. I'll ask you specific questions about the target, and if you show me you really know your stuff, I'm going to give you up to half of the points you missed on that particular target back. Okay, so potentially, let's say you made a 60 on the test, right? If you made a 60 on the test and you walk through all the different targets that you missed questions on, and you come in and get half your points back on every individual target, then collectively you can get half your points back on the test. So that means the best you can make from this recovery process would be an 80 from that 60, right? That's the best you can make. So there is a reason to always want to do the best you can first, because that sets your baseline. If you made a 50 on the test the very first time, the best you can make from recovery would be a 75. If you made an 80 the first time, the highest recovery you can make is a 90. So there's always a reason for you to improve. If you made a 97 on a test, 33 question test, and you only missed one question, and you want to come in and show me that you have a better appreciation, a better understanding of that target, and you want to get half of your points back on a 97, I absolutely will let you do that. I welcome that because, again, I value effort. That effort should be deserved by every single one of you. It shouldn't just be only the ones who failed. Anybody who's ready to put more energy in and improve on their current situation, I'm going to value that, and I'm going to validate it by giving you points because of it. All right, so anybody can come in, and I round up. So if you come in with a 97 and you want that 3 points that you missed, some of that back, I'll give you 1.5 points back and round up. So that 99 is going to go into the grade book for you. So any one of you guys can come in and do this. Now the component, the caveat here is you have to do this before or after school. So please don't ask me to do this during the class period. The class period is really my time. Most of my time is going around figuring out where you are on your 1 through 5 effort chart and asking you questions so that you can show me that you've mastered a concept so you can move on to the next one. That's where most of my focus is. If you want to focus on test recovery, absolutely, you're more than welcome before or after school or during block lunch, and we'll knock it out together. So there's never a chance where you're just completely lost in my class. If you are ready to put the energy in and ready to put the effort in, I will make sure to help you get where you need to be successful. Okay? All right. So finally, just to kind of say the legal components of a syllabus here is I hold the right to adapt and fluctuate components of this syllabus as I see fit in the classroom. But again, everything I do is for you. Everything I do is in your best interest. So I assure you there shouldn't be any sort of stress that you have. If there's an issue you have, a concern you have, come talk to me. We'll work together. It's important to understand that we're all very different from each other. So the relationship that I build with you and the things that I ask of you to do to show me you understand concepts may be a little different than what I ask of somebody else. And that's perfectly okay because we're all on our own paths here and we're all here to work to achieve levels of success that we never thought possible. So again, I'm really excited to be on this journey with you. I'm really excited to learn with you just as much as hopefully you'll learn from me. And let's get this thing going. Take care of this lecture quiz tonight, now that you know how to get to the site. And you'll have another lecture quiz with mindset due by the same time tomorrow. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day.